Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Justin Terriall?
Here.
Michael O'Keefe?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. I think you need to unmute, Dave.
Yeah, hold up. So, Rich Sousa, if you could say yes, did you hear? Rich, I need you to jump off as the host and come back on as you, because I can't mute none people because you're in as the host.
Oh, okay. Let me get off then.
All right. Now I'm good. Fire away, Coley. You can do it now.
Okay. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. David Lane?
Here.
Peter Krapusik?
Here.
Stephen King?
Here.
Aaron Salufo? Did anyone hear Aaron?
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Richard Souza?
Richard was here. He'll be coming back on.
Okay. All right, I'll come back to him to make it official. Next, anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. David Lane, who's going to recommend water and sewer rate.
Here.
And David Lane, who's going to give a director's update.
Yes.
Okay. Introduction to remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public hearings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is effected so that the public with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Water and Sewer Commission is convening remotely the WebEx app that's posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials. All supporting meeting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the agenda unless I, Coley Rybicki, note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Furthermore, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items that public comment, we have established an email address for public comment. That email address is publiccomment at danversma.gov. So I'll repeat that again. Public comments at danversma.gov. This email address is also posted with the agenda and is shown online with the streaming of this meeting. Residents will email comments and they will be provided and read out loud after staff has confirmed their name and address. The public call-in option is telephone 778-777-0001, extension number 1. I'll repeat that again. Public call option 978-777-0001, extension 1. Finally, each vote that will be taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Any questions, please? We'll turn it over to the first item on our agenda. David?
Sure. At the last meeting, we discussed water and sewer rates and the budgets for fiscal year 21. Probably the biggest thing that came out of that discussion was that although costs are going up slightly, they're not going up very much. Budgets are not going up very much. However, our water use as a whole is dropping. So we cannot use our 3-year average going forward. We actually need to budget the same or less water than what we sold this year. So we have a drop in sales, which in order to balance the budget, we believe the commissioners need to consider a rate increase on both the water and sewer side. When we look at considering a water and sewer rate for next year, we do so in such a way that we generate enough revenue so that our retained earnings stay above 10% of our gross budget. That's the policy that the town has set and that this board has set. When we look at where retained earnings are going to end at the end of the year, we also need to look at what future capital projects are coming along. And we're talking about must-do capital projects in order to keep the system going and allow sufficient funds to remain in there so that we can fund future projects without having rate spikes. The information posted and provided to the board on the water rate shows 3 different options for the board to consider. A 5% rate increase, which would end up with a surplus at the end of the year of $123,093. A 5.5% rate increase, which would end at a rate increase of $163,987, and then a 6% rate increase that would end up with $204,000 surplus at the end of the year, added to retained earnings. Staff recommendation on the water rate is that the board consider no less than a 5% rate increase on the water side. On the sewer side, we presented 4 options for the board to consider. 4% increase, which would have us work in a deficit of $701,456. That means we would take money out of retained earnings and still be above our policy in good shape. A 4.5% rate increase would put us at a deficit of $670,488. Take a little bit less money out of our retained earnings. And the third option for consideration we gave to the board was 5% rate increase, which would only take a deficit of $639,520 from the retained earnings. We recommend the board go with the lowest of those options at 4%. And if we took out operating a deficit of $701,458, we believe we meet the budget and be in good shape in years going forward. In addition to that information, the board had asked what has happened in the recent months as far as when COVID restrictions and the shutdown of the commercial side went on. And we have seen a dramatic drop in our commercial side of the water. First in April, it was down 20% from last year. May, it was down 34%. And then June, we're projecting the commercial side to be down 42% in June. The good news is that in those 3 months, we've had a corresponding increase on the residential side. Hold on 1 second.
Okay, while David is doing that, the chair would like to make a correction that I skipped over item number 2, which is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. We'll come back to that once we're done discussing item number 3. My apologies.
Thank you, Coley. I thought you'd want to come back to that.
Yep.
And sorry for the Stanley intrusion there. So on the commercial, the commercial is way down. The residential is up. Our residential sales for April were 6% above last year. May was 11%. June 22%. In the water sales, our residential side represents a much larger portion of our overall sales than commercial. It goes between 70-30 and 80-20. Month to month, it changes somewhat, but at least 70% of our sales are residential, 30% commercial. So this drop in commercial with the reflected increase in residential side, this is coming very close to balancing itself out, and we stay with our existing recommendations. We believe those numbers will work. We don't think COVID will affect it, how the information that we've presented to you folks.
Okay, David, I had sent along an email last week as a follow-up to our meeting of last week with a couple of questions. Were you able to get to those?
Sure, if you could just repeat those questions and we'll have staff answer them, Coley.
Sure. So the first question I had was that for this year, the main basis for the need to increase the rate to be the loss in revenue in its simplest terms. So like when I went through the numbers, I didn't see any major cost driver that was substantially more than last year. So my hunch was this is mainly due to the drop in gallons. Is that the true basis for the full increase on the water side?
That is absolutely correct. Yes, we have just a minor 1% increase on costs on the budget. It's all due to lower sales.
Okay. Right.
Even our largest budget item, SCSD, they had their lowest increase in as long as I can remember. The budgets were tight. It's just the reduction in sales.
Yeah. And the other point I was making, I just wanted to give continued recognition that this is a very tough business to run with a high fixed cost, a lot of variables from the government side putting restriction on us in terms of how much water we can sell, and then the whole Mother Nature factor. We never know whether we're going to have a dry summer, a hot summer, a wet summer that has an impact on our ability to sell water and generate the revenue that we need to cover our costs. So I was just looking for confirmation as I was looking at the numbers that that's what my hunch was, but got a lot of respect for the water department and the sewer department. My hunch was correct, so I am fine with that. The chair would now like to ask members of the board if they have any questions after David's summary there in our meeting from last week. So first, Keith, any comment?
None, no. Good, thank you.
Okay. Justin Terrio, any comment from your end?
Yeah, I just had one question. For historical purposes, I noticed that the town in general, we just went into, was it level 4 drought restrictions for the water? As far as historic numbers, is that common around this time of year? I'm just curious about how that will affect water sales.
So the last 2 years have been relatively wet, cool summers. We have not had to get that. I had to drop this quickly into level 4. The last time we did it this quickly was probably, I think, almost 4 years ago. Usually we don't have to drop to level 4 till well into August, not in June like right now. So this is right now indicator of we're getting into a drought. When it's hot temperatures and a drought, we still end up selling a lot of water even with the water demand. Just people take more showers, they're watering by hand. Our sales usually stay up. However, we're required to really monitor that outside water use. So bottom line, that we don't expect the water use to be, we don't expect the water restriction to cut sales down lower than last year because it was such a wet summer. However, it won't drastically go up like they did years ago when we didn't have those restriction levels. Back then, when it got hot, we would sell a lot of water.
Okay, thanks.
DPW hosts, as I assume where I would go next to see if there's any comments from the public that have been phoned in or typed in. We know if we have any questions at this point.
Mr. Chairman, I've just checked and I don't see any comments from the public at this time.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll move back to item number 2 on our agenda, which is a vote to approve the minutes of our previous meeting on June 10th, 2020. Those were circulated with the meeting notes. I hope everybody had a chance to go through them.
Mr. Chairman, if I couldn't pose for 1 second, prior to going back to the agenda item on the minutes, our way we operate following this meeting, the board will open up a public hearing on the rates. Before that hearing, we need to have a recommendation from the board at this meeting on what rate to recommend for that public hearing. And if we can get a motion right now, what to recommend as far as a rate increase for the public hearing.
All right, the chair, if there's any of the board members would like to make a recommendation.
Mike O'Keefe, Board Commission. I'd recommend the lowest possible options for both water and sewer. Be the 5% and the 4%.
Okay, as indicated on our worksheets, okay.
Correct.
Does you have a second on that?
This is Justin Terry. I second Mike O'Keefe's motion.
Okay. And given the guidelines that we're operating under, I need to conduct a roll call vote on that proposal. So, Justin Terrio?
Yep, here I recommend both the lowest rate recommendations.
Aye?
Second that.
Okay. And I'll second that motion also. So our official recommendation is to put forth the lowest rates that were proposed to us, both on the water and sewer side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, I'll now item number 2 on the agenda, the vote to approve the minutes of our meeting on June 10th, 2020. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Justin Terrio?
No discussion. Motion to approve.
Mike O'Keefe?
I second that motion.
The chair has no questions either, so I'll entertain the motion to approve the minutes, which was just made by Justin. We have to go back to a roll call vote to approve the minutes. So back to you, Justin.
Motion to approve.
And Mike O'Keefe?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Coley Rybicki, approve. We'll now go to 4, which is a director's update. David, any commentary?
So the commissioners stole my thunder. The one thing that I wanted to talk about most was that we, as you noticed from the public outreach, we've just had to jump to level 4 water restriction. It was a big jump going from 2 to 4. The primary driver for the quick jump was that the river has just dropped dramatically over the last week. So our restrictions are based on rainfall and the level of the Ipswich River. Those two things trigger what restriction we go into. Right now, our reservoir is in good shape. We have water right now. The backup reservoir is good in Emerson Brook. We're just starting to get ready to pump from that. So we have water. However, because of the no rainfall, I should say, and the low level of the river, we have dropped to level 4, which is 2 days a week outside watering. And that's all. You can only do it 2 days, those 2 days a week. And I need to advise the board, we're very close to going to level 5. If we don't get rain at the beginning of next week, Staff advises me that it'd be likely we would have to drop to level 5 next week. On that, no outside watering. You could only water by hand, and there'd be no outside washing of cars and that such. We haven't been at level 5 in a long time. However, we're mandated by the state regulations to do it if the river and the rainfall gets to a low level. So right now we've seen there's some thunderstorms that are, you can see them coming in beginning of the week. You never know with a thunderstorm, hit or miss. Could get a lot of rain, could get very little. However, without any more rainfall, we're heading towards an outside water restriction. The highest one we have is level 6. We haven't been to level 6 since 2002. In level 6, we just have to ban all outside water use completely. Everything has to dry up. So was there any questions from the board on the water restrictions further?
The chair would just ask a question, Coley, right, Vicky, that this would probably be the earliest time in recent memory that you've had to go to 5, right?
Yes, I don't believe Aaron Solofo is on the call. Aaron, do you ever recall going to it this early?
No, but the last time we were at level 5 was 2016, I think.
Yeah. Way later in the year, correct?
I can look it up if you'd like.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay.
Just ballpark this. Okay.
I got it right here, David.
He's
We
got
did it
it.
in August, early August
Yeah.
of 2016.
Yes, so Mr. Chairman, just like we thought, back in 16 in August, and that's when usually it would hit.
Like, we don't have enough going on in the world already. Now we've got to deal with this. Okay. So what for people on the phone that might be watching or might be streaming, what we're going to do here after we entertain motions to adjourn the meeting, we'll take a short break, and then we will open up a rate commission hearing as required. So I'll just ask the board members, Justin and Mike, very quickly, is there any more business that we need to bring before ourselves and the water and sewer departments this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Mike O'Keefe, Commission. I don't have anything, Coley.
Okay, Justin?
Justin Terrio, no additional questions or discussion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. I need to do a roll call vote to adjourn the meeting. So Mike O'Keefe,
Yep. Meeting adjourned.
Justin Terrio,
Seconding.
and Coley Vicky affirms that the meeting is now over.
Thank you. So we'll close this meeting and I'll start up a new one. We'll all have to call in again to
Coley Rybicki, Water and Sewer Commission Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Commission members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Ontario,
Here.
Michael O'Keefe,
Here.
thank you. Staff, please please respond in the affirmative. David Lane,
Here?
Peter Kapusik,
Here.
Stephen King,
Here.
Aaron Salufo,
Here.
Richard Souza.
Here.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. David Lane, introduction of rate options.
Here.
Introduction to remote meeting. Evening. This is a public hearing for water and sewer rates by the Water and Sewer Commission and being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth, the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. To mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we were advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law of all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This hearing will feature public comment. For the meeting, the Water and Sewer Commissioners are convening remotely via the WebEx application as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along with the posted agenda and the side Coley Rybicki note otherwise. Meeting business rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. 2, permit me to convene some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Coley Rybicki, will introduce each speaker. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, so the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please go through the chair, taking care to introduce yourself. For items with public, we have established an email address for public comment. Public comments at danversma.gov. I'll repeat that again. Public comments at danversma.gov. This email address is also posted with the agenda and is shown online with the streaming of this meeting. Residents will email comments and they will be provided and read out loud after the staff has confirmed their name and address. The public call-in number option is telephone number 978-777-0001, extension 1. I'll repeat that again. The public call-in option number is 978-777-0001, extension number 1. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to David Lane for comments on the rates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've discussed at our previous meetings, The budget process put together a very tight budget on expenses this year, working with this commission, staff, and the town manager. We have a very modest dollar increase in costs for water and sewer next year. There are some costs due to water chemicals at the water treatment plant and some unit costs on utilities that are slightly more expensive. And we have a very modest cost of living raise for staff that was built into the budget. Other than that, we have very low cost increase on the budget. SCSD, which is our regional sewer treatment plant, their assessment this year was, the increase was lower than we've seen it in over 5 years. So when we went to work on developing a rate proposal or proposals for this board, water sales in the number of cubic feet that we actually sold became the driver of how this rate was going to have to be adjusted. When we look at our rate sales, the water cubic feet sold over the last 4 years, it has decreased every year. In 2017, we sold 133 million cubic feet. 2018, 131. 2019, 128. 2020, 124. So we're down to sales in 2020 of what we project to be 124,792,173. In previous years, we would have recommended the board use a 3-year water average to budget for next year's sales. We don't believe it's prudent to do that, and we don't believe we're going to sell. We would not be able to hit the sales numbers. What our recommendation is that we leave the sales level of 2020 at 124,792,173. Unfortunately, when we leave sales flat, and it actually drops over what the budgeted sales were last year. This is actual sales of 20, not what we budgeted. We had budgeted a higher number for sales. Now we have fewer gallons or fewer cubic feet on which to spread the costs. Thus, the price of water has to proportionally go up. Wish it wasn't like that, but that's how it is. That's what our sales are, and we are restricted by what we can sell by the outside water bans that you've seen. We've already had to put in this week. We've already had to go into water restriction level 4 as of this week. Taking those reduced sales and then putting it into the spreadsheets provided, we came up with a number of costs and rates that would generate enough revenue to cover the budget. The board considered all those and has gone with the lowest of the rates that we proposed to the board that we felt would balance the budget for the year. The underlying factor is that we want to end up with more than 10% of our gross sales in the retained earnings. So what we've recommended to the board, and the board has forwarded as a recommendation to this public hearing, is a rate increase of 5% on the water rate side and 4% on the sewer rate side. We've detailed those, and that would be it would end up for a residential in the first 2,000 cubic feet of $7.15. Commercial water rate for the first 100 cubic feet of $7.15. And then on the sewer rate, the residential, the first block would be $7.03, and the commercial first block would be $7.03. And then the blocks would proportionally go up just like they have each year. At this time, we would ask the public watching, if people have comments out there, to call in or to email into the numbers that the chair provided. And we'd like to, actually, I need the chair to open up the public hearing, and then we can encourage people to call in with comments.
Yeah, the chair will now open up the public hearing on the Water and Sewer Commission rates for the next fiscal year. While we await to see if the public has some commentary for us, I would just ask the board members one more time if there's any comment from there. So first off, Justin Terrill, any further comment?
No further comments. Thank you.
Michael O'Keefe?
No further comments.
Thank you. The chair has none.
Mr. Chair, as far as while we do that and while we have a moment, I would like to ask Peter Kavusik and Rodney Conley from staff if either of them have comments or if I left out important items.
The chair acknowledges that, so please go ahead.
No further comments at this time.
Thank you, Rodney. Pete?
Peter Kutrusek, no, I think David's covered it.
Thank you. The chair would ask David, do we have any public comments inbound to us at the moment?
We're checking right now. We're checking both avenues. Right now, we do not see any public comment.
The chair would now like to go ahead and make a motion on our sewer rates for the next fiscal year for the town of Danvers, which would be effective July 1st, 2020. For purposes of those on the stream and those that are watching remotely, HCF means 100 cubic feet of water. And the motion is that the water rate for fiscal year 21 be set at the following. Residential, first 20 HCF per quarter of $7.15 per HCF. The next level, 20 HCF to 24 HCF per quarter would be $8.04 per HCF. Greater than 24 HCF per quarter on the residential side would be $10.31 per HCF. And the base charge per quarter would be at $17 per HCF. On the commercial side, for water, the first 40 HCF per month would be $7.15 per HCF. Greater than 40 HCF per month would be $8.04 HCF. The base charge per month would be $30 per HCF. I would also move to that the sewer rate for fiscal year be set at the following. Residential, the first 20 HCF per quarter at $7.03 per HCF. 20 HCF to 24 HCF per quarter be set at $7.31 per HCF. Greater than 24 HCF per quarter would be set at $8.79 per HCF. On the commercial side, the first 40 HCF per month would be $11.03 per HCF. 40 HCF on the commercial side per month would be set at $7.31 per HCF. The chair would now like to entertain a motion to have that seconded.
This is Justin Terrio, motion.
Justin Terrill has made a motion to accept those. I will now take a roll call vote on to accept the rates as I just read them. Michael O'Keefe,
Accepted.
Justin Terrill,
Accepted.
Coley Ray Bickey, chair, accepted. The chair would also like to extend thanks to the staff for their work and advising the board on what you were up against for the year and providing us with all the information we needed to make a decision on what we need to do for next year. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If there's no further business before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mike O'Keefe, a second.
You need to make the motion first, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
So could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
By Mike O'Keefe and Coley Rybicki seconds that. We need a roll call vote to adjourn the meeting. Justin Terrill?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Mike O'Keefe?
Accepted. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Coley Rybicki accepts the motion to adjourn. Much for all the help and have a good night, Danvers.